Hey, it's DBJ. I normally don't like to do videos on reviewing something. I did so with Within the Ring of Fire. Um, I thought it was think it is an excellent game. Um, I mean, I'm not getting paid to do anything with it. I have not been able to continue the game at Cycle's End. I will try to get back into doing that. I was absent for quite some time. But one thing I did want to bring up was some pivotal moments in role playing, and I know many of us have a lot of stories and such. And I wanted to bring up a game that I think changed the landscape and why it did. And for those of you that are like half my age, why and how the elements came together to create the role playing world that you see today versus the one that I grew up with back in when I was born in 1970. So this one is how Vampire the Masquerade changed role playing forever. Okay. Now, of course, we all know that Dungeons and Dragons was, I don't want to say it was the first role playing game. Role playing's been around forever, but it was one of the first that codified something and became popular. It had a brand, it had a name, very much like Sun Tzu, who wrote The Art of War, didn't really come up with all the elements of warfare, but codified them into a series of documents that people could follow and look at as one thing. And so role playing, because I believe before that, before the red box, there were these small, I want to say 5x7 sized books that came in various orders that basically was a dissertation of medieval weaponry and things of that nature. There were plenty of games that hit or miss that came out after that. But Vampire the Masquerade did quite a few things, and I'm going to go over a couple of those and explain how it changed role-playing forever. The first part of Vampire the Masquerade was that although other games existed before it, superhero games, spy games, things like that, Vampire really was a game where not losing was winning. That's my first one, where not losing was winning. And so those people who play like horror games, Cthulhu being one of the most popular, and various other horror games, Vampire the Masquerade really was a game where you surviving night to night really was like the most important thing. Just not dying was such an important element of that game that winning kind of became a side element, that there was no end point. Dungeons and Dragons very much, before video games even became big, very much modeled the gather loot type video games. Go into various rooms, have combat encounters, gather loot, come back to town, sell loot to get more better stuff, and you take that more better stuff to go into rooms to kill things to get more loot and to get better stuff. And Dungeons and Dragons really has modeled that theme for good or bad for 40 years. But Vampire really never followed that. And even the creator himself was pretty much like, hey, I created a game, but I don't know how people are going to play it. There's no dungeon crawling. It's such a game where just surviving the night is an important aspect. And what I mean by surviving the night is that being a vampire makes you a predator. And in nature, predators do not gather in large groups. And when they do gather in large groups, it's only because there's enough to feed them. And so in Vampire, of course, feeding could mean money, power, influence, contacts, and of course, people. Feeding on people. And when the population dwindles, or you threaten that population, you threaten the other predators. And so Vampire, although very much mingling a type of mafioso or political game, is very much about stone cold predators and the smiley face, the fake air kissing as people meet at the art expo, and behind the scenes, what they really want to do is rip your friggin' throat out, both literally and figuratively. So that was one of the things. It's just like, not losing is winning in Vampire. Second thing is, no dungeon crawl. Vampire does not have nearly the kind of thing where you gather loot to sell stuff to get more loot. It's not a game about gathering stuff in your backpack and your bag of holding and your portable hole. It is very much about connections, contacts, who you know, how long you've known them. Are you their friend? Can you trust who they are and what they do for you? Is your connection with someone else powerful enough? Are you sure that they won't turn on you because they will be threatened by someone else? Can you remain hidden? Who wants to remain hidden? Should you remain in the public eye? Now, I've described Vampire the Masquerade simply as this. It's grade school, high school, and college that never ends. That's what Vampire the Masquerade is to me. It's like high school and college that never ends. There's the jocks. You got the artsy folk. You got the goths. You have the political ones. You've got the cheerleaders. You've got the good-looking ones. You've got the rich kids. You've got the poor kids. You have the druggies. You've got all these different elements, and all those things that you may have hated about high school and college is forever. All the worst stereotypes you have of cliques are in Vampire. All the different, the things that are expected of you, and when you wake up the next night, it's like it starts all over again, and you're just like, fuck, I can't stand this. That's Vampire. That is very much Vampire. It is high school that just never ends, and no matter how much you want to stay out of it and stay on your own, and then everyone's suspicious. Well, why is he by himself? Why is she doing this? Why doesn't she choose our side? Hey, if you're not for us, you're against us. Okay. Now, there's other things, too, for Vampire. For example, Vampire, for those who like number crunching and for those who like power gaming and such, Vampire is superheroes without morals. Vampire the Masquerade was one of the was a very popular game that allowed you to be a superhero without morals. You killed people, you ran around at night, and yet you could lift a car and jump through windows and run faster than a police car and bend bars and break people's arms and torture them and rip someone's heart out and watch it beating in front of their chest as you throw it to the ground and suck the blood out of it. And what? And you were powerful as shit. A beginning character, you started out more powerful than everybody else, and that's a great draw for a lot of games. When your baseline character that you create is more powerful than an average person. Yes, you are more powerful than the police. Yes, you are more powerful than the average citizen walking down the street. You are faster than them. You can be smarter than them. You can be tougher than them. And even some of the weakest beginning characters. I think the beginning stats run from 1 dot to 5 dots. And 2 dots in ability is normal human. 1 dot is, of course, weak or older. You go, well, my character is more intelligent than anything, so I'll just put 2 dots in it. Well, you had something called Blood Pool, and you could just spend Blood Pool, and you can literally double all your physical stats, plus you can heal from wounds, plus. I mean, you're just a kick-ass character. And to start off in a game feeling empowered was something that Vampire really was able to get across. Vampire Masquerade was really able to get across at a time when a lot of games, including Dungeons and Dragons, which suffers from this, where being first level in D&D doesn't give you the same joy that you would feel from watching a Lord of the Rings movie, a 300, the movie Troy, the television show Spartacus, where you're saying, man, I want my character to be like that. I want my character to be like the Three Musketeers. I want my character to be a swashbuckling pirate. But my first level character doesn't feel like that. And Vampire actually went above that and basically just made the assumption you are better than the average person. Period. You're a vampire. You're better than that. Okay? Another thing that Vampire the Masquerade did was it rewarded drama as much as Dungeons and Dragons rewarded treasure and treasure acquisition and magic items. This is one of the first games that really went out of its way to say, "Hey, listen, reestablishing that relationship with your brother is a good thing. Trying to get that relationship with that judge who just does not like the fact that you're a drug dealer is a good thing. Fighting off the demons that you have inside of you is what we're going to do this evening." It was one of the first games where drama itself, and I do mean the soap opera drama, the he said, she said, they said something about me and they're lying. Not only that kind of drama, but also the interactive drama of life itself. Someone who does not trust who you are. You can be a vampire, but your family doesn't know. And trying to hide those secrets or explain those secrets to someone. Or someone makes an assumption about you. Hey, all vampires are evil. But your character's trying to do the good thing. And establishing yourself in the world through your interactions with people or lack thereof is part of the game. That it can be an adventure. There is no dungeon crawling. There is no combat. Your job in this game will be that all of you were camping and were attacked by vampires, and now you have to come home. What do you do? That's one game. Got to explain it to your parents. How do you explain it? Do you explain it? Does somebody come hunting for you? What do you tell the police? Do you go to the hospital? All those simple things can literally be a game. Now, the last thing I'll say about Vampire the Masquerade, and there's lots of things, and this is purely crunchy, so I'm leaving this at the end that I know of, and I'm sure there's plenty more I can say about it. The crunchy part of what made Vampire the Masquerade was that the rules were dirt simple, and for me, the rules were dirt simple for me, and it had an elegant way of being allowing the storyteller, because at the time there was game masters and dungeon masters, but they really introduced the element of someone called a storyteller. Slight plug, within the Ring of Fire, you are a flame tender, and I think this game is good enough for a flame tender to be in the lexicon of geekdom. But that being said, storytelling, by using the term storyteller instead of game master, it went less from a numbers perspective into a way where your job as the storyteller was to engage all the players, and we are going to tell a great story. We're going to make the next great American novel, or English novel, or whatever, Russian novel. We're going to tell the next great story. We're going to get together and we're going to make something epic that when people go there, we're going to get an Oscar nod. That's what we're going to do. We're going to engage in something and get an Oscar nod. So part of Vampire the Masquerade made it a storytelling system. But along with that storytelling system, it came out, you could adjudicate 99% of all actions just off the character sheet. And you could create a character 99% full off of the character sheet. It had an elegant system where you had attributes, you had physical attributes, mental attributes, and social. And then below that, you had your list of skills and talents and knowledges. And you basically, as the storyteller, you could pick, okay, you are going to pick your constitution plus computer skill to see if you can stay up all night to write this computer program. No, instead, I'm going to have you pick your perception plus your detective skill. And then you can pick your dexterity plus your drive skill. No, instead, pick your dexterity plus your knowledge skill. You had not infinite. You had a near infinite number of combinations of an attribute plus your skill, roll the dice. The next part of how elegant it was is that you used one die system, a D10. Okay, that's pretty much what, spiked the bubble on buying D10s back in the early 90s till mid 2000s. You rolled a whole bunch of D10s, and guess what? You didn't add them up. That's different. Now, Hero System used something similar, but you didn't add up all the D10s. You didn't go through, okay, 1, 2, 3, 13, plus that's 27, plus it's 31. No, you didn't add anything up. You rolled, you had to beat a number. Hey, your difficulty is 7. Roll these 12 D10s and beat a 7. And you just separate them. 1, 2, 3. I got 4 successes. Lastly, part of that was the success-failure thing. Okay, you could have partial success and full successes. If you had 1 success, you barely did it. If you had 5 or more successes, you did it completely. You did it exceptionally. And so then you could describe the stories and the drama. Well, I rolled 1 success. Okay, well, you run to jump across the roof and you land on the other side, twisting your ankle. Or you barely reach it and you get ready to fall and you hang on with your fingertips. You have to spend another round scrambling with your knees and your feet and pulling yourself up off the roof or something. Hey, you roll 5 successes. You did a trinity where you jump across the roof, tumble roll, jump through a door or a window or something, roll down the steps and pull your guns out at the exact same time or something. Whatever. I thought it was just elegant. Making a character, you had basically 90% of your rules at the bottom of the character sheet. Told you where to put your numbers, what you spend it on, how much it costs, your freebie points, how much it costs for each particular section. It was just elegant, and they for the most part extended that through the rest of the line. Werewolf, mage, wraith. It had a great deep background. Most people knew vampires, but they did a twist on vampires and the rest of the elements, especially in mage and werewolf and wraith. They really twisted it up. Changeling and the other games that they created. And it was a power gamer's paradise. You wanted to stack some D10s together. Rolling 3, you were just a punk. You start rolling 15 and 20 D10s. That's where Exalted came from. Well, I think it came from that and the fact that they had a short-lived Street Fighter game based on the Storyteller system. But anyway, I digress. It was a power gamer's paradise. You could roll them. And you know what? I'm still not done yet. I got one last thing to add to this about how Vampire changed gaming. Okay, one last thing, and I'm almost out of here. Okay, last thing is that Vampire. Boy, now I almost forgot. Vampire. Not only was it a power gamer's paradise, but it allowed both within the setting, within the rules, and for the game masters' gameplay. It really reeked of more money, more problems. Mo money, mo problems. This game was inherently, the more powerful you were, the more trouble you had. You started drawing the attention of people you did not want. It's like winning a lottery. People came out the woodworks at you. Hey, you're this kick-ass vampire living up on a hill in a mansion, and you control a vast multinational business. They will gun for you. You have a target on your back. If you're a low-life, half-rat, Nosferatu living in the sewer, they might ignore you. You don't have much influence. But when you're that guy sitting at the top of the hill, everybody wanted to bring you down. And some problems that happen with other games, especially like, D&D, and you start getting out of hand with, 200 magic items, double paged on both sides, and it's just like everyone's 20th level, and you're not even, you're not even fighters and rogues and wizards anymore. You're just like archetypes of superheroes teleporting around, turning into 200-foot dragons and stuff. It kind of, the amount and level of equalization is not there as it was so ever present in Vampire the Masquerade. When you were on top, when you defeated the big bad one, everyone knew it, and you were pretty much at the top of the pile. And so now, how do you protect yourself? It was a game where you backstabbed. It was a game where people connived and lied. It was a game where, or not was, it is a game where these things happen all the time, like in high school. They'll be nice to your face and talk a bunch of shit on Twitter about you. And Vampire the Masquerade was the exact same way. And it was such an elegant way. Sure, hey, you want to make a character that's the most powerful person in the city? Great. Okay, now suffer the consequences. You want to be the richest vampire in the world? Sure. You want to be a vampire that makes movies? Great. You want to be a vampire that goes around killing other vampires? I don't care. Go ahead, drink their blood. Get powerful. Diablerize as many vampires as you want, drinking their blood and getting more power. But guess what? You're going to make a name for yourself. You're going to be blood hunted, and they will come after you. I've run vampire games where I started out where the characters are the primogen of the city. Each person picks a different clan, and you're like, hey, for whatever reason, the city's emptied out. You guys control it. Now go. See what happens. It's a great system. Vampire the Masquerade Classic. I know V20 is out, a drive-through. I have not gone into the new world, but I'm sure it's exactly the same. I know the rules have changed, and they had the whole apocalypse thing, and the jihad and Gehenna came about, where all the ancient vampires rose up to destroy the other vampires, and how that came about. I don't know. I would just ignore all that. I think White Wolf backed themselves in the corner with that. I know they were taking a chance with it. In my opinion, I felt like it was a bad choice for them because it excluded how important the gaming stores and publishers were, and the distributors were to role players and the role playing game community. I'm sorry. But that's just my take on it. But so now you have a system where individual creators are now taking over, and there's fans out there. And so for those of you that were too young to know what Vampire the Masquerade was when it first came out, it is a great game. It's like Undead High School, all the worst elements of it, all the greatest things of how you can replay your life and whatnot. Great game. So that's my rant on how Vampire the Masquerade changed role-playing games forever. Thanks, guys. And as always, create, don't destroy.